Welcome to WiscoDice! Hey yo folks, I am your host, the Conesy with Most, and I am joined today by...
Hey everybody, it's Justin, the Meeples champion here.
And I'm Matt, the Ghost Walker.
And this is episode 153 of the WiscoDice Tabletop Gaming Podcast. Today is May 27th, 2026. On today's episode, we're going to give our tips for surviving Gen Con or other conventions, but mostly Gen Con. But first, let's roll right on into those games we've been playing.
So our first game I want to talk about is called Everdell Emerald. Everdell Emerald is the newest entry in the Everdell family. It is one of these standalone Everdell games that kind of takes things into a new landscape. And just like normal Everdell, you're still building a city tableau of cute critters and constructions, but this time you're doing it in the jungles of Emerald. It's got the Everdell engine, for lack of a better word, driving the play of the game, but there are some unique twists that make it fresh and different in this particular version. First off, there's new artwork from a totally new artist this time around. They went with Mr. Cuddington, fairly famous board game artist couple. One of the other big changes in this version is every card is now two-sided. Every card has a base side, which is what you would expect from normal Everdell, where it has a cost to play it and some type of ability. But now you can spend this new resource, Emeralds, to upgrade cards to their upgraded side, which increases their power and the points that they're worth. And you can do that with all your critters and constructions in your whole tableau. There's also a new archaeology track, which is basically you spending some resources to go dig through a bag of these artifact tiles and pull some random tiles that give you benefits like points or extra resources and stuff like that. So that's one additional way to earn points in this version. And then you also have a totally new card type called Artisans, which function a little bit like the, I believe they're called Vagabond cards maybe, but traveler cards or traveling cards. But they have a special ability that gets triggered when you tuck a card underneath them. So you discard a card from your hand and tuck it underneath these artisan cards, and then that triggers their ability. So there's some hand manipulation stuff going on with those cards. You can spend those cards from your hand as a resource on these guys. I really enjoyed this version of Everdell. It's got, I think, enough unique stuff going on that it felt pretty different from, base Everdell, which I think most people at this point are pretty familiar with. I really like this one. They different resources, different art, different critters, different engine kind of building techniques that you can use. It does enough different that it keeps it fresh, and which is kind of amazing given how many iterations of Everdell are out there, right?
So my question for you, Justin.
Yeah.
How hard is it to pull out of the box and set on the
This
table?
is again one of those standalone versions, and it's not
easier.
that bad. The only tricky part is setting up the 3D archaeology structure that you put your meeples on to go kind of digging through this kind of cave system. That it is a little harder to put together, it seems like, than like the tree from Everdell. But other than that, it's really well put together. It's got all the resource containers you can get for it, so all your little fruits go in a little basket, and your bamboo goes in a bamboo crate and stuff like that. So it's definitely easier than bringing out that coffin box for the Everdell Collector's Edition. Definitely. So yeah, this one might get played a little more in that respect.
Well, that's good. Yeah, I knew they'd move to a lot more standalones in their boxes.
Yeah, I think this is the third one of those standalones they've been doing.
So.
Yeah, I think there was. I know Far Shore was one of them, but yeah. So no, I thought this one was really cool. It's still Everdell, but it's definitely different and a really good version of Everdell, I think. But that is Everdell Emerald.
Yeah.
Tycoon Games.
That is Everdell. It is different. We'll have to give it a try at some point. Definitely, with all the 18 pounds of Everdell we have here, we're probably not investing in that one anytime too soon. But I'm glad to see it's in our general group of people we play with, so we can give it a try. Next up is an old one that just recently got back to the table in the form of Altiplano from DLP Games and Renegade Games here in the U.S. Picked it up. It's a pretty big Euro for 2 to 5 players, and yeah, it's going to take that kind of time to play. It's a couple of 2 to 3 hours to play as well. It is, I don't know, it's kind of like a rondel game, but it's not really. But there's definitely a lot of you're collecting resources and then turning a classic Euro. Get resources, turn those resources into something else, and then turn those resources into something else, and then those resources at the end of the game turn into points. Now, the way you're doing that in the game is you've got a worker on these little island boards or whatever. Each island board has a certain action or set of actions that you can 2-3 different actions you can take at those locations, and you're going to move. You have the option to basically, when it's your turn to go, you're going to move your worker 1 to 3 spots optionally. You don't have to, and it's limited how many times you can move in a round. And then you're going to take an action at the location you're at, or you're going to pass. And if you pass the round, you can't get back in. Now, that's how you're getting these resources. But what's neat and what kind of helps make this game stand out, besides hey, I'm just going around this circle in different directions, taking actions, and effectively with that move of 1 to 3, you can get to any location you want. So you're never handicapped with not be or blocked from being able to take an action unless the resources for that action are all gone. Like in our game, we ran out of llamas pretty quickly. So now you can't get llamas because the resources are finite. Mm-hmm. But ultimately what you're going to be doing is these resources end up going in a draw bag. So these resources kind of become a bag builder as well. And you can unlock through the course of the game more draws out of the bag and a couple of other little minor bag manipulation things. But ultimately, what you're going to end up doing is kind of the start of your turn on each turn. Before you're resolving any of the actions or going where you're going to be taking those resources out of the bag, so many of them. And you've got to figure out on your player board, how do I take those resources and turn them into actions that I will be able to actually do when I go to those places on the game board? And how am I going to get to those places? And or maybe how am I going to get to those places before Justin, so that he doesn't buy the bloody tile I need so that I could have won instead of him. But yeah, it's you know what? I think this is a game that sits on the shelf, and it's a classic Euro game looking box. And it's kind of, the tokens are, cardboard shits for all your resources. There's very little bling in this thing. It's very vanilla. The theme, you don't ask me. I know there's a theme to it. It's completely lost to me. It's all mechanics, right? It feels very Euro-y that way. But boy, when we played this, I was so glad we broke it out, and everybody's scores were super close at the end. It was a tight game. There was 8 to 10 points between first and last place, so it was really close. So,
wow, that's always a great way to end a game like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody, I don't think we had tie for first, right? It was, then there, none of the available tiebreakers broke the tie either. So we had a shared first place victory. And I don't think anybody was unhappy about that, right? Really, other than maybe the two people who were tied for first, and one of them wanted to, I'm sure they wanted to, I got you by having an extra coin or something, but to both of you, the game got you. yeah, this is a brilliant game, and
No, it's good.
it gets lost so often in the shuffle because it doesn't have that extra bling factor or anything that really makes it jump out off the shelf at you. But yeah, Justin, you were playing at that table. You ended up being one of the two that were tied to win the thing.
I
What did
like
you
this
know?
game. I think this is an awesome game. Like you said, it really is a classic Euro. I think it's just the same issue of we get wrapped up in the newer, fancier stuff, and we want to try new things, and sometimes forget to go back to these old classics, which really are gameplay wise, mechanically, like really super great, super solid. I think I agree with you that thematically, I can't really explain the theme except that you're sort of in Mesoamerica trading resources to get better resources. I mean, that's sort of what you're doing, and then storing those resources in a warehouse for points. Again, it's really it's a mechanically sound game with a light theme that I think works. It's just a game more for those who are into the mechanics. I think it's an awesome Euro game. I would recommend it to anyone who's looking for that classic Euro game feel. And it's got some unique stuff too. I think it's probably one of the first bag builders I played.
Mhm.
I don't think I got to like Orleans or whatever before playing this one. So
It's one of the only Euro bag builders out there, right? It's like that in
uh,
Orleans, and like looking at Board Game Geek, it's a bag building game along the lines of Orleans. It's the first line in the description, right?
that's what it says. That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's God, I don't like all the bag builders that I've played since like this are, and I actually have never played Orleans, by the way. Shame on
Huh.
me. But it like this, like a game like this, like everything else is like push your luck bag builder type games that I've ever played. Like there's nothing
Right. Like
like
Right.
your
this that
wax and yeah.
yeah, it's different and it's unique in this space, and you don't see a lot of games coming out anymore these days that just try to do this. And unfortunately, this one is fairly hard to find. As we were prepping for the show, I happened to pop over and see if we could find one on Amazon. And the only one that was on Amazon was quantity one, one available. It was $135. So if you really want Altiplano, dig around. You probably can find it a little more easily on the used market. But this is a good one, and you shouldn't sleep on it.
Agreed. And you should also not sleep on checking out WiscoDice.com for links to all the games we've discussed and leaving a review of this podcast wherever you download podcasts. Please do that. It helps us a lot. Do it now.
Yeah, do it. We are here to talk about our experience at the tiny little convention that's called Gen Con. And really, I think it's a great topic for this time of year as folks are starting to really get serious in their trip planning. And hopefully, you all that are going to Gen Con this year have your event tickets, have registered, got your badges, got your hotels, survived the great hotel lottery, haven't decided to rage quit Gen Con after that. And even though you're probably like me and have a hotel that's like 12 to 16 miles out, it's all right. It'll be all good. Just get to the show early. But Justin, you wanted to go ahead and just kind of ask us a few questions because you don't get to go very often. So you wanted to kind of just query us for our expertise in how to survive a tiny little board game convention like Gen Con.
Yep, I'm definitely not a seasoned veteran. You guys are going to be our resident experts, and we're just going to get the best Gen Con survival tips that we can out of you guys. So let's jump right into it. Right off the bat, Gen Con's big. You're going to be doing a lot of walking around. So, what should somebody plan to pack for just their day to day walking around Gen Con, getting to their events, getting to the vendor hall, that kind of stuff? What's their day to day pack kind of need to look like?
So what I found works for me when I'm planning to be mostly doing just kind of various gaming, I recommend a small to medium-sized backpack. It could be an over-the-shoulder bag, whatever. I mean, the key is don't go gigantic. You're going to be working your way through crowds. People will thank you for keeping it reasonable. Plus, if you have a bunch of extra stuff, you can leave it in your hotel room and go back. Comfortable shoes. Even if you're super excited and you've decided you're going to build some amazing cosplay or something like that, nothing wrong with that. Think comfortable. You're going to be walking around all day. You want some shoes that are going to be comfortable, that you aren't going to be in mass pain 2 minutes after, or 20 minutes after you put them on. Gaming gear for the day, whatever. If you're doing some tabletop role playing game, maybe a set of dice, some pens and pencils, because you might want to jot some notes, or you might need to write down some notes on, or get a business card or two. So if that means carry around an emotional support demon or something too, that's fine. And you might have a couple of small games that you share or play. And I always recommend snacks and some sort of a water bottle. They have tons of places to refill, water bottles and things like that. But you're going to be walking around. It's the middle of summer in Indiana. You're going to want some
water
water.
bottles, very essential. Like, hydrate. You cannot hydrate enough at Gen Con. Like, it's just...
No.
It is absolutely essential. And pack light. Like, don't feel like you got to carry a lot. But I would add one other thing that I always put in my backpack. This is something that Suzanne got me doing, and I am so glad that she did. And that is wet wipes. That is, like, if you find a table, like you've been waiting in line and you got food and you find it and you manage to find a chair and a table to sit at, I guarantee the cleaning crew has not had time to probably clean that table, wipe that table down, and there's probably some gross stuff on it, and that's why that chair was there. But if you had a wet wipe, you can wipe the table down and eat and clean in a nice clean space. And
That's a great tip.
I've done that
really
at multiple conventions. That's so handy. Yeah. Otherwise, those are great tips to start us off with.
Is there anything you guys would say you should specifically avoid bringing with you while you're walking around Gen Con?
Not more than you need, right? Like, you're going to put on so many steps that whether you're wandering the vendor hall or anything, like, I can't tell you how many days, like, I've racked up 15, 16, 17,000 steps or more, and my back is killing me, and it's all because I had to carried around all day on my back, like, all my GM supplies for the game I was running, because I ran a game for a company that morning, and then I never got back to dump it out or anything. And my back is just done, and I'm physically done. And that kind of, like, if you overexert yourself on day 1 or 2 of the convention, by the time you get to Sunday, all you're going to want to do, instead of go back to the show for that 4th day, is drive your way back home, because you're going to be too worn out physically. So try to make sure you manage that. It's important to take things like your water and your good shoes and all of these things, but at the same time, there's no need to be hiking around your 2 favorite board games on the slight hope or chance that you're going to get sometime that day you're going to sit down and get to play them.
I would say one thing to remember too is, because it's going to be busy in the halls. If you go into the vendor hall, it's going to be particularly big. Don't bring a gigantic backpack. And if you're like, well, I don't want to carry, so I'll bring a wagon or something, it's just going to be a giant pain. You're going to find it to be a nightmare to make it through anywhere if you try and do it. And the people around you will.
Wagons and carts are no longer allowed in the vendor hall either, except for certain
not in the vendor
circumstances.
Hall.
They had gotten a bit out of hand because of people wanting to haul all this stuff and not be so physically worn out.
Yeah. So, I mean, just like Ben, it's really, like Ben said, pack light. Don't have a gigantic backpack, or you will find yourself in a lot of pain.
Yeah, I mean, one trip through the vendor hall, you're going to be like 6 new games you want to play, and a couple of T-shirts and 4 sets of dice you didn't know you needed, anyways. You're going to be like, I don't know how I'm going to carry all this. Plus, I got a big heavy backpack. Oh no.
Okay, so we know what we're bringing. We have a good idea of what to bring. How do you guys go about finding your way in the busy land is Gen Con?
So, first and foremost, I think you need to arrive early on Wednesday. One, and especially if you're doing will call, if you arrive early, like before the will call line gets out of hand, it'll be easier for you to grab your badge out of will call. But two, it gives you the opportunity to hike out. Like ICC is public property, so you can hike all of the hallways in ICC, no problem. Get an orientation for where that is. If you have events or things that you want to check out that are in some of the hotels that are attached or in downtown Indianapolis, you can get your bearings on where those are as well. You get your bearings on where the food trucks are going to be. You get your bearings where all these kind of things are so that when the big event halls open up and you've got to get to that game at 8 o'clock Thursday morning, you have at least a general idea where Hall D is or where Lucas Oil is and what your path is to navigate to get there. I understand that, folks still get lost or missing, but, I can say personal experience, I've seen like 8 o'clock Thursday ticket game, for games that people are showing up for. There's a large chunk of people that don't show up because they can't find the game. They can't find where it is. And it's really critical to understand how big this thing is. Like when you go from the far end of Lucas Oil all the way to, like, say, the open play room in the JW Marriott, you're talking like a 2/3 of a mile walk. And that walk come convention day, when it's full on convention, is going to be through large crowds of people quite often. So making sure you have an idea of how to navigate where things are is really big. And I think that's and I say this because a friend of the show, it was her first Gen Con, I think 2 years ago, and we met up with her
2 years ago,
on the Wednesday before, and we actually gave her a tour of, like, this is where this is where this is, and it helped her very much be able to just settle in and then go to her stuff and have a great time.
Yeah,
Nice.
absolutely. I mean, for me, I definitely recommend if you're new to it, have a map. It can be on your cell phone. I thought the Gen Con mapping software was surprisingly good when I used it a couple of times. It's not perfect. There are definitely rooms, like Ben said, that you're gonna struggle to find if they're in other buildings. Like it's great for the convention center. It's not so great if you have to find some strange suite in Lucas Oil. I actually showed up a half an hour early to try to find the stupid suites in Lucas Oil because there was not good instructions on how to get
running
there.
a game up was
Yeah, because I was like, where the hell are these? I had to ask like 6 people to find the dang things. But I think Ben's has it right. You show up the day before, or at least spend a little time the night before going, okay, how do I get from A to B? Where am I going to go? Look at your map for the next day. Hopefully you give yourself some time, I would say, because you're going to want food, you're going to want downtime, or you're just going to want time to wander the vendor floor, especially if you're doing the vendor floor. While I do recommend take some time and just walk, but if you look ahead, map out where you want to go, because there's going to be certain booths that if you're like, I really want to see this particular sales or this whatever, if figure out where they are so that you don't miss them, because there's some that are just kind of stuck in a little thing. But really recommend use the software, look ahead.
Oh, and to add to that too, I hadn't even thought of this, but like I run typically a very busy schedule now for Gen Con, where I'm like this year I'm working for 2 different publishers and 36 plus hours. So my time to walk the vendor hall or see things can be very limited. And knowing what booth numbers everybody's in that I really feel like I need to see is really important, because like the booth numbers might not be labeled very well on the booths themselves, but you at least get to see which rows they are, and you'll get a feel for, okay, this end of the room is the low numbers, and that end of the room is the high numbers. So I'm looking for like something in the middle of the row. Okay, I can kind of navigate to there. And then if you get to a booth during the show, this happened to Suzanne actually. If you get to a booth where you're checking something out and you really like it, but you're not 100% sure you're ready to buy it that second, but you're like, hey, I want to come back and get that thing, grab the booth number from whoever's working the booth. They'll happily tell you what the booth number is, and then, jot it down or put it in your phone or whatever you need to do so that you can find it later. Because I think we spent probably an hour the next day trying to find the booth where Suzanne wanted to buy a certain set of dice that she only found at this one booth. And there's an insane number of dice vendors. So
yeah.
No,
I hear you. And to be clear, that vendor hall is generally packed. I mean, there are sometimes I found it to be not, but it's generally packed, and it is row. So, I mean, knowing the vendor number or at least the booth number is going to be a godsend for you to try to find it the next day, because it's easy to get lost in that vendor hall.
Yeah, it's gotten significantly bigger than when you were there last, Justin.
Oh wow, that's kind of nuts.
Oh, it's huge.
So, well, let's say there's a new game releasing at Gen Con that I want to make sure I get a copy of. What should I what should I do, or what can I do, if anything, to try to get a copy of a new game release?
So I have seen way too many people on day one. They don't buy event tickets. They stand outside those exhibition hall doors. They chant the do not run, and then they run the second somebody opens that door for a booth for the chance to snag a game that's going to come out 2 weeks after the show at their friendly local game store. So one of the things I would really point out is try to understand, like, I know it's cool to have the newest bling, but if you're there at Gen Con and you know there's a game that's coming out, try to understand how that vendor is releasing it. If it's a really limited release where they're only selling like 50 or 100 copies maybe a day, or they're only selling them on they only brought X many, and when they sell out they're out. Are you going to be able to get that game in a week or two after the show, or maybe a month after the show? What's your likelihood of actually getting it to the table in that like release time after Gen Con, considering all the other games you're going to end up probably picking up? These are kind of things that are important, because I can tell you from my personal experience, I've ran to a booth. Well, not quite ran because I don't run, but I have walked very quickly to a booth on the opening day trying to get something, got there, got disappointed because I couldn't get the thing that I really wanted, and then was like, or got the thing, even better, I got the thing, took it home, and then it sat on the shelf for 3 months before it got to the table. Like, all to snag a copy early for some reason. So that's the biggest advice. But if you're dead set on getting a game, one of the things we did, Suzanne did 2 years ago, I think there were a couple of games from Board and Dice that we really wanted, and they were very limited release, where they were only releasing like 50 or 100 every day. And so we went to the booth trying to get there. First couple of days, couldn't get it. We didn't get there fast enough. So we talked to the booth. Hey, we really want these games. They're like, well, we had a bunch of people that pre-ordered them before the show, but they haven't picked them up. If come Sunday at noon, if they still haven't picked them up, we're just going to sell them. So, okay, well, Sunday at noon, we walked back up the shelf, and guess who walked away with all of those games from Board and Dice that they wanted, that were on their like must-buy list? I did. So that is also like, don't think you just have to run to the booth. There's other ways to get these games sometimes, and if they are a really limited release, just be prepared you're not going to get it. Just go in with that mentality, and then maybe if you get it, you can celebrate.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Ben. And I think the very first year I went, I wasn't aware they did some pre-order reserves and something I wanted from CGE, and you guys had ordered the pre-release and got a copy. But I think I waited 6 months after Gen Con to get that because it's just so popular of a game. But I agree with you. Most times, I mean, if you're super dedicated, maybe you have to have it right away. You're going to be able to come back and waive it. But a lot of times, you're probably not going to get to play all of them right away. So just maybe picking up a few that you really, really thought were cool, or even if there's one that isn't a new release, but you just never added it to your library, you might find a good deal. Some of the places have pretty good deals, like on the vendor floor.
You want to hunt for
that
deals. You hunt for
might be
deals.
able to.
You make sure that you're physically able to go on Sunday and get those deals, because especially Sunday afternoon when those vendors are about ready to tear those booths down,
They don't want to haul it all home.
any copies of those games that they can sell, they're a little more like, yep, the buy two get one free or whatever sales start coming out and all sorts of things. 30%, 40%. I think I got Hellboy the board game from Mantic on like a 40% off on a Sunday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the vendor hall. Let's talk about playing some games. I wanna get out there. I want to meet some new people. I want to play some new fun stuff, and maybe I have some time between events, and I just want to find out what's out there for kind of open play options. What do I need to do to just find a game to sit down and play?
So the official open play space is in the JW Marriott. It's in this massive, massive ballroom, and I think it's a second floor, but I could be corrected on that. That is the only place where I have found where I was able to snag people I don't know or that weren't part of my gaming group to play games with me. And they have all that because it's the open play room. They have flags that you can put on your table that you're looking for players, and those kind of things. So that is the place where I have had success. Now there are people playing games everywhere that are completely pickup games, right? Hotel lobbies, spare rooms, tables where people aren't probably supposed to be playing games, hallways, they're everywhere. And I guess like I haven't done this because have never felt the need, but certainly you can ask, don't be afraid to ask if you see something cool, or spark up a conversation with somebody if you see something cool that's being set up or even being played, because that's gamers. I think people that are, especially when you're playing out in the open like that, people are like more than happy to chat with you a little bit about whatever it is their favorite game that they're playing.
Yeah. I know, like Ben said, I would see in some of the vendor halls, not vendor halls, sorry, some of the gaming halls where they're actually hosting games, people would play pickup games on some of the open tables that just didn't have events running on them. Now, I will agree with you, Ben. I think most of those were people that were like a group of friends that knew each other who were like, oh, we all are here together. We went our separate ways. Oh, let's spend 2 or 3 hours. I actually got a copy of this game, and they love unpacking it. I know you told me a bunch of stories. I want to say it was when you got Stifling Dark or maybe something like that, that you said you were in the open play and you and Suzanne were playing, and there were a lot of people that walked by and like, oh, I'm really interested in this game and I want to see it. And I wasn't able to get a copy yet. And they were like, wanted to see the mechanics or something like that. So I think in the open play, you're more likely to get those people that kind of walk by and just really like see a game and go, oh, I just maybe want to ask questions about, the mechanics and see how it plays a little bit and stuff like that. I will say though, if you are planning to set up a game, you might want to skip the epically long 6 to 12 hour games, unless that's what you want to spend your whole time doing.
If that's what you're there for, and
therefore
you're able to go snag
more
somewhere.
power
I will
to
say one thing, like for the open play room, Saturday is the hardest day to get table space in that room. So if you're not there early in the morning Saturday, you may find it a real challenge to snag table space in that room, and that boggled our minds. I think last year we went up there because it was we went up there the Thursdays and Fridays, and it's usually pretty easy to snag a table. But by Saturday, so many people have bought their games, and now they're looking for a place to play them, and they'll just go in there and camp out the whole day.
Yeah, I will say the hotel I was in last year had a room set up in the basement very much for like that kind of open play. And a lot of people would go down there in the evenings or something like that to just kind of play board games with whoever would happen to be around too. So you might check whatever hotel you're in just to see, because they may have a room set aside.
A lot of the hotels cater to it, and if you are going to try to find a place to play inside ICC, especially if you're like trying to find a spot in halls A through D, go to the event HQ and ask them if they have open table space anywhere. Don't just set up somewhere and think it'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because especially on some of those tables where it doesn't look like there's anybody around and there hasn't been anybody there all day, that's where some really small publisher will get a little bit of space to run their game for a couple hours, and that's all that they were allotted. And then if they have to show up and deal with the hassle of trying to get you to move your game, that can be really problematic for those tiny publishers. So be respectful and try to make sure it's okay before you just, hey, I'm going to plop down and play this 3-hour game.
Yeah.
Sounds like, at least in the open gaming space, it's also, in terms of meeting people and just finding someone to play with, sounds like it's not too hard to find other people to join your game if you don't have an established group, say. Is the vibe pretty positive and friendly in terms of just, hey, come hang out and play this game with us? Or
Yeah, we had a great time running games. We brought several titles. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago we were playing Distilled up there too, and we had 2 or 3 players walk up and join us for a game of Distilled, and then next thing you know, here's Dave Beck and the whole Paverson Games crew coming in just to say hi because they saw that we posted on social media, and Dave, I think Dave might have even been hoping he could get a chance to play a game with me.
That's awesome.
So, I just got done telling the table about, Dave and the inspiration of the game, whatever. And I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, that guy who's on the card I just showed you, he's right there.
That's
nice.
Awesome.
That is one of the nice things about conventions, though. You can run into all sorts of people that are just really big in the gaming scene, and they'll be just casually walking down the hall or in a game, in a hall to come play some games. And
nice. That's awesome. One other thing I wanted to ask about, once you're at Gen Con, is it still possible to sign up for like specific events once things have started, or is that something you have to do totally in advance and plan ahead?
So the answer is maybe. So you can always, in any event that's still in the event listing that has available tickets, you can go to the event HQs and buy tickets for. No problem. That easily done. You might have to deal with a line. That's part of the beast. So if you want to spend time in the line at the show rather than playing games or seeing stuff, you could do that. The other piece of this is you can get generic tickets. Now, generic tickets are paper tickets that you can use at event tables that you walk up to that you want to play games at. Now, those event tables still have to have openings for you to play games, but so many, especially the oddly houred, the scheduled games, the ones that are maybe, hey, we're starting at 8 a.m. in the morning, or we're in the afternoon or in the evening, after the event, the vendor hall is shut down. People don't show up to those games either because they're tired or they found something better to do or didn't wake up early enough or can't find it, whatever. So if you're there, and this is kind of the rule of thumb for anything, I can say, like, if I go talking about Adepticon and I wanted to play in the, some tournament that's sold out, chances are 6 to 10 or 12 seats are probably going to open up just for people who didn't show up to the convention for whatever reason. When you're talking about events that have when you're talking about Adepticon events, you're talking about events that are, maybe 100 people or 150 people. Yeah, 10 to 12 people. Having 10 to 12 people not show up is a normal thing. When you're talking at some of these board game events, yeah, during the daytime hours, yeah, those tables are probably full, and you won't be able to walk up and play on any unless they had available event tickets that nobody bought. But in the evenings and the mornings, those are the best times to try to snag in. I can tell you, like, I'm going to be working in the Papers and Games HQ, running games, running some games of Luthier and Class of '89 this year. And since it's going to be in the evening, I bet you I don't have full tables for all of my games, especially Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I always found is I always had tickets for events, or I found things that I could do. The other things you can always look for, especially with those generic tickets, there's always some things that are going on that seem to have a lot of people or availability. Playtest hall. Now, there are times that the playtest hall is just jam-packed and all the people with the event tickets show up. But I saw a lot of people that just had generic tickets that got to play test games and have a good time. There's still plenty of things to do. Like you said, I would check some things you can get tickets for still. Or like Ben said, somebody cancels in the last minute and they thought they were going and they came down with COVID and suddenly 4 or 5 people's slots open up because they're no longer going to Gen Con. So, I mean, that does happen if you watch the events that you want to go to. Sometimes the slot will open up.
Yeah, like Zan and I signed up for a game of like King Domino that was supposed to be. They were supposed to be like, I think 12, or they were gonna the where we were running. And I know it's King Domino, which is not the greatest game, but it was something we could sign up for. And so we signed up and bought tickets, and we showed up. I think it was like an 8 a.m. Saturday morning game, and out of like a dozen, it was a sold out game. Like all dozen tickets were sold out, and I think 4 of us showed up for the game. So, like, especially little games like that, if you're like just looking for something to fill your schedule, and you're like, hey, I know how to play this, and I do enjoy playing it, but I just need a little filler here or something like that. It's a great opportunity to snag a game. One other thing that I didn't really kind of think of here, but I did want to kind of point out as well, is that when it comes to scheduling your games, a big Gen Con, don't do this, and people do it all the time, is they book themselves back to back to back to back. And they don't realize how far away they've just booked themselves. Like, if they book themselves
ICC D all the way over to Lucas
all the way
Oil
over to Lucas Oil, in the stadium suites, and then back down to Hall D, and you got to get there, and you give yourself, your games are going to be like, oh hey, this game ends and this game's going to start 5 minutes apart, or hey, one finishes, one starts. You're never going to get there. Like, that walk time is 30 to 40 minutes. So you're not going to get to your game. You're going to miss it. And that's how some of those spots open up.
That's a good piece of advice. That's a good one. I like that.
It happens way too often. I can say this happens to me as a GM running events. I've had people be like, hey, can you make sure I get out of here early, like 20 minutes early? Like, I'll do what I can. Like, no promises.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if I'm new to Gen Con, is there one thing I should do to make sure that I have a good time at the show?
Don't overdo it. Really, seriously. And this kind of ties into a little bit what I was just talking about, but it really, like, there are very few shows here in the US in particular where they are this big. And the physical demand on us as gamers a lot of us aren't necessarily, maybe, especially speaking for myself, maybe the most fit individuals If we overdo it early, it's going to wreck the rest of the show for us. So try to manage that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And try to be aware of that, and make sure that, if I'm going to make sure I'm going to have a good time, I'm going to make sure I want to see some of those Gen Con staples, things like Card Hala, things like the big balloon animal thing that gets blown up every year, the different design. I want to see those things, and those are pretty easy to see because they're right there in the main halls. You're probably passing them by anyways. But I know there's probably hundreds or thousands of people that go to Gen Con that barely pay those kind of things any heed. I think that's kind of the important piece. That's like, those are things that I'm going to see at Gen Con that I won't see probably anywhere else because they don't exist at other shows.
I think one thing I would say is there are a ton of other things. Yes, we go to play board games and that, but there are a ton of other events that you can kind of do that kind of chill in the evening. Some of them are like comedy shows, some of them are music, etc. Yes, some of those go on during the day, but I'm just saying there are ways to find things that are kind of fun to do in the evening. If you're just looking to kind of wind down for the evening and relax. The other thing I would recommend that's all in the same line as Ben mentioned, that's totally free. Check out the time that there's a parade that they do through a good portion of Gen Con for the people that got dressed up and did cosplay. So pay attention to when that is. It's a fun event. Yeah, I mean, some people, they're just very quick and put together. You're going to see some people with some amazing cosplay stuff too, and it's just a totally fun event. Lots of little kids walking and parents, and it's just a fun thing to just kind of see and cheer the people on that came and got all dressed up. And hey, if you got dressed up and did a cosplay there, enjoy the walk, have a great time doing it. So.
No, the cosplay parade is definitely a great thing to check out. Also, just adding on to the shows, like the shows aren't just in the evening either; they're all day. Like the Great Gooey Game Show. If you're like into if you're like a little bit into RPGs and want to watch something kind of fun from the folks over at Gooey Cube, that's always a good time. I love like Suzanne and I love seeing the shows put on by the Zombie Orpheus crew. These are the people that created like the movies like The Gamers and Darkness Rising. Like that's like the RPG staple movie of all time, probably in my mind, is Darkness Rising in particular. If you want to see what a D&D table is like and what that experience is, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But yeah, their live shows are great, and there's tons of things. Like, I think a couple of years ago, I don't know if they're still doing it, but Gen Con had like a brewery tour that you could buy tickets for, that you would take you around Indianapolis. And there are other things to do. Indianapolis is not a small city. For years, we used to go to a place that, on every Friday night, we'd go to a restaurant that was probably a 30-minute drive in a cab away from it. Unfortunately, this place is closed, but we'd hang out there far from the show for evening. Great places like Fogo de Chao and the Weber Grill, and there's all these like staple restaurants around and other things that you can check out and do too that are not just Gen Con orientated.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
Gaming orientated. There's plenty of time to play all of those games. Some of these things, like these shows that we're talking about, costume parade, these other things, these are things you're not going to get to see except for probably at Gen Con. But this year, the new D&D Wizards of the Coast, like they took over a building, so all the Wizards of the Coast stuff is in a different building, and they've got their new live play show is putting on a live play, and those are going to have those are some of the cast from the voice actors from Baldur's Gate 3.
Nice.
Well, yeah.
Tickets probably aren't available to that anymore, but hey.
Oh God, no. Well, you never know. If you pay attention and somebody doesn't make it to Gen Con, you might be able to grab one, but odds are they aren't going to cancel or
I
got
to imagine that show probably selling out like the way Critical
to
Role sold out when they came to Gen Con. But hey,
probably.
I didn't go to either, so what do I know?
It would be fun to see, but yeah, there's a lot of just really fun events that you can go to. And like you said, non-gaming too. I remember they had like a bike Not that we're all huge bike, but like one of those combined bike tours where they drive you around, kind of.
Oh yeah.
See, you can see if you're not from Indianapolis or you haven't seen it before, lots of good like tours you can take and stuff like that too.
Absolutely. There's so much to do, and it's just really like it's crazy how much bigger and bigger and bigger this thing keeps getting, and that there is still not enough space ever for everything or everybody that they want to have space. So they need to start building ICC in an upward direction and somehow figure out how to put more hotel rooms downtown. All right. Well, that is, I think, all of our tips for Gen Con, right, Justin? You didn't have any other questions for poor Matt and I?
No, I feel like I'm pretty ready to survive my next trip to Gen Con. I definitely got some new ideas and new advice from you. So I think our listeners too will be in a good spot to survive their trip to Gen Con.
Yeah, just don't feel like you have to do things like True Dungeon there either, because you can do those things at other conventions for less money. There's lots to do. Lots and lots to do. So, all right, that is our tips for surviving Gen Con, and we'll see how many of them I actually follow this year. And we also talked about a couple of cool board games in Everdell, Emerland, and Altiplano. So make sure you check those out. And of course, we always appreciate it so much that you've taken the time to listen with us. Make sure you leave us a big thumbs up, a 5-star rating, whatever it is, wherever you're listening to podcasts right now. And of course, like, subscribe, all those things. It goes a long ways to help out a little channel like us. Till next time, folks.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you leave a review of this show wherever your favorite place is to find podcasts. Oh, and by the way, give us a like on our Facebook page. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest while you're at it. If you haven't looked recently, make sure you catch up on the blog at WiscoDice.com. Hey, Brian, what's that site?
Ah, darn, I forget. Justin, what's our website again?
WiscoDice.com.
That's right, it's WiscoDice.com. And until next time, everyone, peace out.